The Inflation Reduction Act is supposed to fight monetary inflation by cutting the deficit roughly $300 billion over 10 years. So why, just 2 weeks after passage of the act, is President Biden increasing the deficit by $500 billion with an executive order forgiving student loans? The President's Student Loan Forgiveness Plan cancels as much as $20,000 in federal debt for eligible Americans. It also extends forbearance, known as the payment pause, through the end of this year. In addition, it makes generous revisions to the income-driven repayment program. Total cost projections of Biden's forgiveness plan run the gamut from ultra expensive to downright frightening. According to the Committee for Responsible Federal Budget, CRFB, the estimated total cost of the plan will run between $400 billion and $600 billion. And the frequently cited Penn-Wharton budget model pegs the cost of student loan forgiveness at just above $600 billion. The president of the Committee for Responsible Federal Budget did not mince words in a statement about the student loan forgiveness plan. This announcement is gallingly reckless. With the national debt approaching record levels and inflation surging, it will make both worse. She added that this action by the White House is completely at odds with their talk of deficit reduction. It could add twice as much to the deficit as was just saved from the Inflation Reduction Act, completely eliminating any deficit reduction and then some. The Penn-Wharton analysis of student loan forgiveness suggests an even more concerning cost outcome. Currently, most eligible borrowers are not enrolled in the income-driven repayment program, but there's talks of a plan to allow the Department of Education to auto-enroll eligible borrowers into the income-driven repayment program. Penn-Wharton says if that happens, the total cost of student loan forgiveness could soar to $1 trillion. Here's my question. What happened to the importance of reducing the deficit to fight inflation? To switch from saying, we're doing this in a responsible manner, to turning around and blowing all the money they saved and more, from a policy perspective, it makes no sense. People know by now that the Inflation Reduction Act is just a smaller version of the Build Back Better Act. In its original form, the Build Back Better Act was a $3.5 trillion monstrosity of climate change and healthcare initiatives. The price tag was so enormous that the legislation couldn't even succeed in a Congress controlled by Democrats. It's called the Inflation Reduction Act, but it doesn't fight inflation. The amount of deficit reduction we will see from this bill is projected to be maybe 2% of cumulative deficits over the next 10 years. And that's one reason the Penn-Wharton budget model summarizes the legislation this way. The impact on inflation is statistically indistinguishable from zero. President Biden and this administration don't see deficit swelling student loan forgiveness as being inconsistent with the goals of the Inflation Reduction Act. That might be because the real goals of the Inflation Reduction Act never included reducing inflation. That's why I suggest you take this opportunity to learn more about what's going on in the economy by attending our one-on-one educational web conference at augustapreciousmetals.com/webconference.
Hey guys, Joe Montana here with my man Devlin Steele. He and his team at Augusta Precious Metals are constantly putting out new information to keep you ahead of the game. Click subscribe now and hit the notification bell to stay up to date. You'll be glad you did.